If you're new here, if you haven't been here, what is Tactical Tuesday? Tactical Tuesday is this. We know, like, Rob knows this, I know this, Drew knows this, anyone that goes to a conference, there is power in proximity. And the conversations that we have, some of the best conversations, the reason why we go, the reason why Amanda's come and spoke in Knoxville at events that we've put on is to be in the room and to have the conversations that we're having, right? To be around just greatness when we're creating that every single week, right? Because the more you can level up your five, the faster you can grow. So we're going to literally bring you the very best in our industry every single Tuesday. And our goal is to make this a call so valuable that our speakers are going to be coming back here and the audience to be on, right? Because we're adding so much value every single Tuesday to a national audience. And I literally couldn't think of a better person to kick this off. Our great friend Amanda Dahl is going to be talking about how do you build a sphere worth influencing. The floor is yours.
I love it. Thank you. And let me tell you, I've seen the lineup. There's some incredible people to follow. So I will definitely be back in the audience. Okay, so let's jump right in. I think I have share my screen access here. And we are just going to move to slides. So I'm going to be sharing some slides with you all. Excuse me. And then from there, I'm also giving you access to a drive. So can everybody see my slideshow?
Yes.
Cool. I love it. All right. So building a sphere worth influencing. Why is this so important? Before we get into that, let me tell you, our industry, I think, does a horrible job of vetting people. And I think it was early on in my speaking and teaching career that I made it part of my mission for every person that I'm in front of, not only to take it extremely seriously, because I realized that anything that I say on this call, you could take back to your business and make decisions on. So it is extremely important to me that you know who I am and why I'm qualified here today to be in front of you and teaching this tactic. So in 30 seconds or less, I've been in real estate now a decade. Before I got into real estate, I came from hotel and hospitality management. So I used to grow hotels from the ground up, grew the corporate ladder very young, and I got bored. So went looking for an opportunity, found a job ad on Craigslist, and 10 years later, I've been in the industry. So I've done a lot of things. Not only have I grown teams from the ground up, that was my first job in real estate. So I came in as 2015 as an executive assistant to a guy in the Tampa Bay area who wanted to build a team. Fast forward 6.5 years, I was the CEO. We were 30 people large, and we were doing about 312 sides a year. That's about 125 million in volume a year. And I went through every role. So EA, director of ops, VP, director of sales, as Justin said. I hit a plateau at one point. My agents didn't want to coach with me because I wasn't in production. And I said, cool, then I'm going to run script practice and go take some listings. And so I've been a student of the game in every area of building a team. 2021, I decided to part ways with him and I launched a coaching and consulting company. I saw a huge opportunity in real estate to teach people how to be business owners. Again, our industry doesn't do a great job of that piece. They do a good job of teaching us how to be salespeople, but you own a business at this point now. And it is my humble belief that at the end of your career, you should have this amazing asset that you could either leave as a legacy or sell. And the reality of the situation is most of us don't run our organizations like a business. So that's what I've spent the last 4 years really honing in on. Coaching agents across the country. I'm in 9 different brokerages, different sizes, whether it be an individual agent or a large team, and I'm coaching them at all levels of their businesses. So how to hire people, how to build their systems and processes, how to vet them appropriately, how to lead people, how to find really good lead generation tactics that are going to sustain any market that we're in. And so that's what I've primarily been doing for the last 4 years. Then this last year, I took on a director of growth role. And honestly, the reason that I did that was so that I could get back in the game. So I am now in everyday systems and processes and hiring people because I'd stepped away from that for a while. And so now I split my time. Half of my time is literally coaching agents and businesses across the country, and the other half of my time is as a director of growth. These are some of the most important things to me on this slide. I have no children. I'm not married, 38 years old. However, my favorite title of all is Aunt Mimi to these beautiful boys. So between my sister and my brother, I've got 3 nephews that are all under the age of 4, and I love spending additional time with them. So that's a little bit about me. I'll give you a slide at the end on how you can connect with me after. If you haven't turned on your camera, I would ask you to do so. I love engagement, and the topic that I'm going to talk about, I think, is a really, really, really important one for this year and moving forward. So what are we going to talk about this morning? First and foremost, if you scan that QR code, it'll take you to a Google Drive folder. Now, here's what I can tell you about my teachings and the stuff that I deliver, as I am extremely practical and tactical. Everything that you're going to hear today, not only are you going to learn, but you're going to have things that you could go back as soon as this call is over and implement in your business, like 1, 2, 3. So I can assure you, if you do nothing after this call, it's going to be your choice and not because I didn't give you the tools to do it. So don't be one of those people that has a very smart bookshelf. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about understanding your data bank and what you currently have. We constantly hear in the industry about you got to build your database. Well, what does that actually mean? And are we building it the right way? Then I'm going to teach you how you can audit your database, how you can categorize them, the people that are in your database appropriately, and then narrow your database down to the people that you actually have influence over. I think a lot of people use database and SOI or sphere of influence interchangeably, and that's really not the case. Sphere of influence are people you have influence over and that are going to return on a return on your investment. In addition to that, we're going to talk to you about different relationships you can add to that and creating your hit list in those areas. And lastly, we're going to talk about then how do you go out and meet those people? So if we know what we have in our database, we know what we're lacking in our database, we know that we need additional people in our sphere of influence, we now know how to go meet those people. Where do we go meet them? So we're going to talk about all those things in a matter of 30 minutes. So we're going to move fast, but just know if you have any questions, put them in the chat. Justin, I'll let you monitor that. And then we can definitely connect afterwards for those people that want some additional time. So scan that QR code. All right, so let's talk about this. So mindset is going to be the biggest shift here, in my opinion, because when you got into real estate at whatever point you were at, somebody told you, hey, listen, now you need to have a database of people and you need to let all of them know that you made a career move. And so some of you have people from a past job, some are friends and family members. However, you compiled that list of people. And for people who tell me like, Amanda, I don't really have a sphere of influence or a database, I tell them, go to the contacts in your phone, scroll all the way to the bottom, and whatever that number is at the bottom is now how many people you have in your database. So you've got names and numbers. What's interesting about this concept, though, because this is where we start, is that you've inherited those people from all walks of life. So they can be people from your that you went to school with. They could be people you played sports with or did extracurriculars with. They could be family members. They could be friends. They could be past coworkers or past bosses. Nonetheless, you've got this melting pot of people that you now tell you've made a career move. And then what we do is we pour into them because that's what every brokerage across the country tells you to do. We'll get in front of them. Make sure you put them on a touch program. Make sure you remind them that you're constantly in real estate. And not that that's a bad thing, but what we don't do is we don't continuously audit that group of people. And what ends up happening for a lot of people that fail in this department is they continue to pour into that group of people and they go bankrupt. They're doing pop buys and client events to a whole bunch of people that respectfully haven't even committed to engaging with you or being influenced by you. But we follow the 36 touch program or the 58 touch program, or we're sending handwritten notes to people who may not even want to be engaged with. But because you labeled them your database and even furthermore, your sphere of influence, you keep pouring into them and you're like, Amanda, why am I not getting results? It's because we're not doing a good job of teaching that group or treating that group of people like an actual business. How many people know the number one reason you are in business? Somebody unmute and tell me, what's the number one reason you are in business for?
Who's going to be brave?
I'll go. I got in the business to do a better job of taking care of my family.
I love it. So essentially what I hear is make money for your family's lifestyle.
Give them a better lifestyle, yeah.
I love that, Drew. So what that tells me is you are in business for profit. Otherwise, you would have started a nonprofit, correct?
Absolutely.
How many people can sell real estate for free? Yeah, I don't see any hands up. And so I'm not saying that's the only reason you're in real estate. I love the stories of, I love to help first-time home buyers, and I love to look through homes, and I love to help my community. Those are all great reasons, but you can't do those things if you are not turning a profit. And what we don't do is we don't evaluate our businesses in those terms. We look at it and we go, well, I'm doing everything that the book told me to do, or that my coach told me to do, or that the class that I took told me to do, but we're not actually evaluating whether or not our business is returning on our investment. And so this is the mindset shift that I want you all to essentially flip on in the next 25 minutes that we have together. How do you value your business? By your database. What is it worth? And if you're not looking at it like that, we have a huge missed opportunity. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So if we're in business for profit, the things that we're pouring into in our business have to be giving us some type of return. If they're not giving us a return, we have to get rid of them. And so since we don't want to just go throw our database away, we want to fix it. That's what we're going to talk about on this call. So everybody good with the mindset shift? All right, it is a piece that generates profit for us. So let's jump in. Ooh, maybe, there we go. So first I want to talk to you about the difference between a data bank versus your database versus your sphere of influence. And this is how I want you to visualize it. Your data bank would essentially be your CRM, whatever CRM you're using. And if you're not using any type of technology at this point, and it's a spreadsheet with a bunch of names or numbers on it, that is your data bank. And similarly to a piggy bank, your data bank should have a criteria. What kind of things do you put in a piggy bank?
Money,
Money.
bills, coins.
That's
Things
it.
of value.
Yeah, currency, right? We don't put potato chips in a piggy bank. We don't put paper clips in a piggy bank. And so the same thing goes for your data bank. Now, the reason that I draw this line here is so that you understand that there are going to be some things in your data bank right now that are not good. They're potato chips and they're paper clips. How did those things get in there? Well, it could be a compilation of things. If you've got a website, and somebody registers on your website. How many people have had this scenario? Someone goes to your website and after 5 clicks, you force them to register. Well, the consumer's gotten smart. So now they register with first name but, last name whole, and no phone number. That's not a lead, that's a potato chip, right? And you know as well as I do, it's not a viable anything. They beat your system in order to get through what you were doing. So as we do our first level of auditing, we have to understand that there are going to be things in our data bank that are not viable. They're trash. And where most CRMs will not allow you to essentially delete things out of your CRM, you've got to tag them appropriately. So whether you tag it as delete or you tag it as trash, you've got to know what things are not even viable. So you've got this data bank that's filled with all of these essentially potential leads, right? So first is your data bank. Then within your data bank, once we've narrowed the riffraff out and identify what's trash, we hone in on what is our database. And by definition, your database is filled with potential leads that you have contact information for and that you have had an exchange with. You have to have had an exchange with them because otherwise we haven't qualified them as something viable yet. Maybe they don't want to engage and maybe they never will. So as we narrow down the data bank to our database, now within that database, we're going to narrow down our sphere of influence. And these are people that you either have influence over or you intend to have influence over in a very short amount of time. Any questions on that?
I thought that the fact that it's a potential exchange is important, right? I've got to have a two-way exchange just because they were my old neighbor and they love me. If I haven't had a two-way exchange, I can't just count them in my data bank. I haven't done the work.
Correct. That's it.
Yeah.
And so often we want to say, well, I've got this database of so many people and like most of them haven't even engaged with you. So you don't really know what you have at this point. So you've got to hold yourself accountable in that regard. So now data bank versus database versus sphere of influence. So sorry, I'm moving faster than my slides. We moved past the database. So now in my database, I'm going to have 2 groups of people. I'm going to have people that I've actually met and people that I haven't met. And so the goal is to meet them as quickly as possible. Now, what does a met look like in today's world? Well, it could be a 2-way exchange belly to belly. It could be a text message. It could be an email. It could be a direct message. It could be a carrier pigeon. I don't care how it happened, but you had a 2-way exchange. That means that I have met them. And in that exchange, you have discussed real estate. Whether it's I'm in real estate, just so you're aware, or you might be looking to transact in real estate. Either way, you've got your mets and your haven't mets within that database. And the goal is to get everyone to a met as quickly as possible because you want to be able to qualify what they are in your database. Any questions about mets versus haven't mets? Yes.
What is your script for Mets, because I remember you telling me that it took like 18 months or something before people stopped calling you for hotels because you
Yes.
were the plug. So what is your script to like have that conversation with people?
Yes, that's a great segue into what we're going to talk about next. So
Let's
once
go.
we have identified who the database is, now these are viable leads that we've had a conversation with. Now we want to narrow down our sphere of influence, because in a perfect world, I would love you just to be focusing on your sphere of influence. The distinction between people in my database that I've met and people in my sphere of influence is one script that I have given you in this folder, and it is called the Chosen One Question. And here's how it goes. Hey, Justin, I'm curious. When you have a real estate need, who do you call first? Not who do you know looking to buy, sell, or invest. Not are you looking to buy, sell, invest. Justin, when you have a real estate need, who do you call first?
I honestly don't have anybody.
Yeah. And that's going to be one of 4 answers that they're going to give you. Now, spoiler alert, I gave you the script with all 4 objections so that you can use it now. Here's the importance of this script. You have to ask everybody, say it with me, everybody that you are going to consider your sphere of influence this question. That includes your mama, that includes your grandma, that includes your husband. Because here's what we like to do. We like to assume, because we're married to the person that we go to sleep with every single night, that they're going to send us leads. And the reality is you haven't asked them the question. And then you want to hold them accountable to that. And when they decide to send the lead somewhere else, they're dead to you. Well, you started holding someone accountable to something that they didn't commit to. And the reason that I include the people that are closest to you is because I made this mistake. So my mom was in another state at the time, and she called me up and she's like, hey, I'm going to list my house. I called my friend, and I was like, well, wait a minute. Why didn't you call me first? She's like, well, you're licensed in Florida. I'm in Alabama. And I was like, I didn't ask her the chosen one question, because had I asked her the chosen one question, she would have been like, well, Amanda, that's great, but I'm in Alabama. And then I would have had an opportunity to tell her that I can help anyone anywhere. But because I didn't ask her the chosen one question, and I assumed because she's my mom, she would just call me with every single real estate need she would have, I almost missed the boat on that opportunity. So always ask everyone. When you have a real estate need, who do you call first? And they're going to give you one of 4 answers. The first one is going to be, you know what, Amanda, I already have someone. And I think that's fantastic, Justin. Let me ask you, what areas does your person cover? Because I'm from the greater Tampa Bay area. And if you know anything about Tampa, it's designed like the 5 boroughs of New York. Like, you could work in St. Pete, but you won't drive all the way to Palm Harbor, or you won't drive all the way to South Tampa. So when they tell me they have someone, I'm like, fantastic. What areas do they cover? Well, they cover South Tampa and they cover Brandon. You know what? That's awesome, Justin. I'm curious, when you have someone or know someone that has a real estate need in Pinellas, who do you call? Well, you know what, Amanda? I don't really have anyone. Awesome. So don't just take no for an answer first. I have someone. What does that mean? And if you live in an area like I do, where you have multiple areas to cover that not every agent will go to, you could potentially be their other person for those areas that that individual doesn't cover. If they're like they cover every area, then I will still follow up and say, cool, how do I become your plan B? Because I'm sure your person is going to get sick or have vacations. And so in the event that you need someone as a plan B, how do I become that person for you? So that's the first objection. The second objection is going to be just like Justin said, well, Amanda, I don't have anyone. Oh my gosh, Justin. Well, tell me, how can I become that person for you? When can we sit down and have coffee and talk about your needs, your friends' needs, and my business and how I can support you in that? Option number 3 is going to be, well, hell, Amanda, now that you told me you're in real estate, you're my girl. And I'm going to show immense gratitude for that. And then I'm going to do everything I can to possibly love on them as hard as I can quickly. And then the 4th answer you might get is, Amanda, you know what? I'm just not in the business of referring. I don't like to put my name on anything. You know what, Justin? I can absolutely respect that. And I'm curious, when you yourself have a personal need, who do you call and how can I be that person for you? Because some people just don't like to refer. Either way, you've got the script now. Here's what I will tell you, and this is from my mouth to your ears. If you have not asked a person that you are claiming is in your sphere of influence that question, you don't have the right to call them your sphere of influence. They did not. Once they say you are my person, that for me is an indication that they have pledged their undying allegiance to me. That is their, I now want to engage with you. Now I've got permission to hold them accountable to that. But until they have said that, I don't have the right. So if you're sitting in the audience right now and you're going, wow, I haven't asked anyone that in my sphere of influence, that's your first piece of homework. You get to call all your people now, tell them happy Valentine's Day in the next couple of weeks. And oh, by the way, when you or someone you know has a real estate need, who do you call first? I need everyone to opt in. We do this on our website. We do this on landing page. Don't we do that? Don't we give leads an option to opt in? And when they opt in, they've given us permission to engage with them. We've got to do the same thing for our database, y'all. So that's the first thing, is I've got to ask them the chosen one question. Any questions about that piece?
Who's got some calls? Who's got some calls to make inside their data bank?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I see Rob nodding too. That's powerful stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So now here's a little tidbit of information as you're building this out. How many people have heard of Dunbar's Law? Yeah, so Dunbar's Law tells you that you can have 150, and I would even stretch it for those of you that are above average or advanced, 200 meaningful relationships at any given time. After that, your brain starts to get foggy. But what it also says is you could be acquaintances with over 500 people and you could recognize 1,500 people. So I want you to know the difference. Meaningful relationships would mean I know their name, their birthday, their spouse's name, where they go to church or synagogue. I know what they do for a living. I know what they like to do for fun. You're almost at capacity brain-wise between 150 and 200 people. And if someone wants to prove me wrong on that theory, I welcome it. But that's typically where you're at. Meaningful relationships that you're engaging with on a consistent basis, 200, and you start to be like, oh man, I got to go back and look at my notes. Where does he work again? Right? And so that's Dunbar's Law. So as you're building this out, I want you to know that the goal would be for you to get to 150 to 200 sphere of influence individuals as quickly as possible. But then after that, you just have to know that it's super important for you to continuously audit that sphere of influence, because you know after about 200 people that you're engaging with at an extremely high level that you're going to start to get foggy. So you want to hold those positions in your sphere of influence extremely, extremely accountable. You want to hold them accountable at the highest level. So now this is what your essentially the graph in your mind should look like right now. You've got your CRM and you've got these extra floaters out there that you can't really delete or do anything with. Within our CRM, we've narrowed down who our database is. And now within our database, we've narrowed down this sphere of influence. And the sphere of influence is extremely important in these categories. So sphere of influence is comprised of 3 different categories. And I don't care what you call them. I call them A's, B's, and C's. You could call them VIPs and B's and C's. You can call them colors if you want to. I don't care. But for me, it's A's, B's, and C's. Now, what they all have in common is that those individuals have been asked the chosen one question and they have pledged their undying allegiance to me. They have explained to me that when they know someone or they themselves has a real estate need, I'm their first point of contact. The second thing that they all have in common is completed and very thorough and updated information. So I'm not just talking name, telephone number, address, email. I'm talking where they go to church. I'm talking what they do for a living, familial status, marital status, kids' names, dogs' names. You want as much information as you can possibly have about these people for one very small reason. And it's because 80% of what we do is in the follow-up. And the biggest challenge that you all face is I don't know how to follow up with these people regularly. I keep calling them to check in or wish them happy holidays, and that's getting old. But when you know information about people, I can reach out to Justin and say, oh my gosh, Justin, I see that this is for us something that I saw. I see you're in a relationship now, man. That's amazing. You met someone. Tell me about her, right? Because I follow Justin on socials and because I communicate with him regularly and because I know his daily lifestyle and I know what he does for a living, I can make that call. I was just thinking about you, man. I saw you got a new girlfriend. What's going on? How awesome. Great way to have a conversation, right? But if we don't know all these things about these individuals, it makes it really hard for us to call them if we don't have something to give away or an item of value. So that's the second thing that they have in common is we've got as much information as we can possibly get about them and we continue to build on them. The third thing that they don't have in common, and this is what separates each category, is the amount of business that they are good to you for. Now, if you're a brand new agent who's just starting out and you haven't closed any deals, well, then obviously you can't make your category A good for a certain number of deals closed. But the goal is to get your category to A to a certain number of deals closed. When I was running the first team that I was on, A's were good for anywhere from 3 to 5 plus closed pieces of business a year to us. Now, a team full of 30 people that had over 5,000 in their database, we had about 25 of these. So I'm not expecting your A's to be huge. What is it? What were you showing us? I didn't see.
Oh my gosh. So sorry. This is me being ADD. Art Kelly jumped on here and he
Yeah.
just talked about how to make friends. Got a book, how to be a friend maker. And I've got his book right here doing
Yeah.
exactly this.
Oh,
Exactly
good.
this. How do you
So
show up and ready for your spheres? So anyways, he just
So
joined.
those are going to be your A's.
Yep.
Now, it might take you a couple of years to get to that point. So if you don't have pieces of closed business right now, what is going to be your differentiator between your A and B category? You can decide what that is, but the goal is to get it to closed pieces of business. Then our B category was those individuals were good for 2 pieces of closed business a year. Now, hear me when I say closed business, not referrals, but closed business. And then our C's were people that had pledged their undying allegiance to us. We had completed and detailed contact information from them, but they hadn't done a deal with us, nor have they referred us anyone. These are my 3 categories, and I audit them every single quarter. And the goal here is for you to graduate C's to B's and B's to A's, but you're also going to demote A's to B's, B's to C's, and C's right out of your program. Because remember, this group of individuals has to have a return on your investment. So now these individuals who are good for closed pieces of business, you can do things like pop buys and client events because you know when you pour money into them, they are going to return the money back to you tenfold. But if you've got a sphere of influence that's not good for any deals and you keep pouring into it, over time you will go bankrupt. So A's, B's, and C's. Any questions about these 3 categories?
Who's got a question? We've got 30-something people in the room. Anybody want more business from their sphere? Anybody got something specific? Everyone, we're going to execute this play perfectly, and we're not going to have any questions amongst each other when we get done with this. So
is there anyone who's doing their database at this level right now?
Oh, where is Magel? I wonder if Matt is on here, top lining his bricks. We've got a guy on our team who is a master of this, controls 40% of his farm. Because Kaza is a highly event-driven team, and we talk about building bricks.
Yeah.
You got to build bricks. You have a minimum of 500 bricks. But even this is, I think, I love it. Art says he's doing this at a very high level. Art is who just wrote this book. He came and spoke on Saturday. We were on this together, and so he's doing this at a very, very high level, just owning sphere. What I love that he said, Amanda, he talked about the sphere. He said a sphere is 3D. If we go to Vegas, like the sphere is a 3D object, you can live inside a sphere. You can interact inside a sphere, right? It's good, great mental image.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
So now if we piece this all together, this is what it should look like. Within my sphere of influence, I've got my A's, I've got my B's, and I've got my C's. And so these are the things to jog your memory about what you should know about those individuals. And I've covered a lot of them: age, profession, status, familial status, spirituality, health, education, relationships, what they do for fun. The more you know about them, the easier it is for you to essentially follow up with them, to connect with them, to build deeper relationships with them. But if you're not asking these questions and you don't know this stuff, it makes it extremely hard. So now, what kind of SOI am I currently working with? So now that you know what it is that you're supposed to be doing, you know what your sphere of influence should look like, you know what your database should look like, now you might go, wow, Amanda, I've got a whole lot of gaps. So the question that you should be asking yourself is, who do I need in this group? Because a lot of you are going to go make those calls and you're going to realize while your buddy who you went to college with was really awesome, that guy ain't sending you no business. He just ain't. And that's okay. I'm not mad at him. I use my grandmother as an example. She's 85 years old. God love her. She's going to die in the house that she's in. And she doesn't have a lot of living friends. She's not referring me a whole lot of people. But am I going to throw my grandmother out of my database? No, she's still going to get my card. She's still going to get invited to my things. But I know as a business owner that my grandmother is not going to be someone who's going to return on the investment. So I've got to go replace her in my sphere of influence. Doesn't mean I can't stop treating her a certain way. It doesn't mean you can't have exceptions for this, but you need to know. So I've got to replace her with someone else if I decide to keep her in the sphere of influence, because I've got to get a return on that seat in my sphere of influence. So now, who do you need in your group? Who do you need in there? Because a lot of you are going to identify the people that are in there are not really good ones. I put them in there because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. So who do you need? And this is my favorite part. In real estate, you don't have a choice. You have to go direct to consumer. There are consumers who want to buy, sell, and invest in real estate. But what we don't do a good job talking about are the business relationships that we should have. Now, as morbid as this sounds, death, divorce, disease, diamonds, diplomas, deployment all come with a real estate transaction. So if I were asking myself, who do I need in that group of people? I would be asking about those key areas. What professions fall in those key areas? And I built a team on this. So I'm speaking from experience. Death, divorce, disease. That's probate attorneys. That's family law attorneys. That's divorce attorneys. That's estate planning attorneys. Financial advisors. Do they not deal with people who have high net wealth that want to deal in real estate? So if I'm asking myself, who do I now need to go meet? You could go one-to-one, direct to consumer. You don't have an option. You're still going to meet consumers. But more importantly, if you want to be purposeful, I would go after other business owners. And this is why. Because number one, they are built on referrals too. So I feel like you cut out the noise. Anyone who's been in this game for a while knows the market that we're in today requires you to build rapport with a consumer. They want trust, they want connection long before they're using you. With business to business relationships, you get to expedite that. You get to expedite it because they too have a business that is built on referrals. And if you can mutually help each other, now you've got like a 5-to-1 ratio. Right? I got to schmooze with one attorney, one probate attorney, and he sends all of his clients to me. That's like a 10-to-1, right? That's what we want. So if you're asking yourself, Amanda, how do I now go fill this position in my database? Here's a prime example of the math. So if you've ever read the book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, you know Gary talks about the 12-to-2 ratio. For every 12 people that you have in your sphere of influence that you are effectively communicating with at least 36 times a year, and then rolling them into an extremely intensive touch program once you've engaged with them, you should essentially get 2 pieces of business. One is direct and one is indirect. So if we did the math here, I got 300 Mets in my database. I put them on an 8x8. Initially, it's an intensive follow-up program, and then roll them into a touch program of at least 36 touches a year. I should get 50 sales out of that. If we do the same thing with the concept I'm teaching you, all we need is 10 Mets, but we need them in the right professions so that they can send all of their clients to us. So 10 Mets by profession, putting them into a 4x3, which is a different follow-up program I'm going to tell you about in a minute, and then rolling them into a 36 touch program, you could do the same 50 deals, but you only got to schmooze with 10 people instead of 300. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a different way of thinking. So now here's an example of a professional hit list for you. For me, the criteria is they have to be entrepreneurial. So they understand lead generation at a high level. It's not someone who essentially sits behind a desk and doesn't have to really go find the business. And if they potentially talk to someone, I want someone that owns a business or that's responsible for the sales in their business, because they are tied to generating leads every day. Number 2 is they have to understand the importance and respect the importance of referrals. They're built on referrals just like I am. They want referrals just like I do. And then number 3 is they have to meet a profession on my hit list. So here's an example of some of the professions you can go after. Financial advisors, CPA, tax attorneys, probate attorneys, family law attorneys, estate planning attorneys. Oh my gosh, I used to live in the retirement capital of the country. Assisted living facility directors. When someone gets sick and has to go into a home, they typically, or them or their family has a house they have to sell. So I want to be in relationship with that one. And I'm telling you, my mom is killing this in Naples, Florida right now. She is literally meeting with directors of assisted living facilities. And they're like, and my mom is SRES certified, so seniors real estate specialist. And they're like, we didn't even know that was a designation. We've never had a realtor come in and say, we would love to help with your clients who have to sell real estate when they move in. It's a missed opportunity. So go meet with assisted living facility directors. Hairdressers are another great one. I mean, hairdressers, everybody sits in their chair and spills their guts. Who's getting divorced, who's getting married, who's cheating, who's having a baby. They know everything. So a couple of good hairdressers or barbers would be a great person for you to have in there. Landscapers, roofers, pool specialists. These are all professions that typically a seller would enlist before putting their house on the market. So getting leads from them, because they're also referral based, would be important. So you'll notice what you don't see on here is title companies or lenders. Not that we don't love those guys, but I'm not looking at them for leads. That's not what I'm looking at that relationship for. I'm looking at it for other things down the road. These are professions where they can send all of their clients to you. So any question about this?
I love it. What's the, one question you're about to cover, I think, is the 4x3.
Yes. And so
Yeah.
this actually comes, so if you know, Michael J. Mayer, 7 levels of communication. So, I mean, I met him early on in my career, and he's just somebody that's been like a mentor from afar for me. And so he does this, and all I did was slightly tweak it a little bit.
So we've got Tara Carter, who's a Michael J. Mayer coach,
Yeah.
joining us later this month, right? To talk about never have to get a cold lead again. So yeah.
So you guys will remember this when Tara teaches. So the 4 and 3 is essentially this. So let me backtrack real quick. We've identified we've got a gap in our sphere of influence, and we know we got to meet more people, but the right kind of people to add to it. And now we're hunting for them by profession because we want to build this business to business relationship piece. Consumers are going to continue to come. I want you focused on business to business. So now that you know, because you've made your professional hit list, who you need to meet, then the very next question is, where do I go to meet them? Right? Where do I go find these people? And so for me in my area, which is different in all parts of the country, I love Facebook events and I love Meetup, the app Meetup. Those are 2 places that I have accounts for that I can go see what's happening in my area. In Facebook events, I can go run a filter on entrepreneurial business events that are happening in the next week. And so this is how I do it. So I'll go run that, and I actually just did it on Sunday. So I'll go run that report for the week, and I'll say, oh, 7 events came up. So I start to research the events. The first thing I do is click in the event, and the place that I go to is who else do I know that either marked interested or going. I want to know if I know someone going to that event. Then when I do identify that, oh, I've got a couple of friends on Facebook who are either going or interested, I'll send them a DM. Hey, Drew, I saw that you're going to that networking event on Thursday, and I'm curious, have you ever been before? Is this a really good one that I should consider attending on my calendar, or is it kind of a waste of my time? And Drew will tell me, oh, Amanda, I go every single month. They throw a good one. There's a lot of professionals there. You want to be in that room. Awesome, Drew. And since you've been before, I'm curious. I'm looking to meet a financial advisor and a probate attorney. When we're there, if you know any one of those, would you mind making an introduction for me? Yeah. Why is this important? Because you could waste your time going to events that you have no idea what they're going to be good for. You have no idea how the outcome is, and you're not using your resources. And guess what happens at the networking event? When Drew makes the introduction to the probate attorney, he's a lot more likely to engage and remember me because I have 1 foot in the door because Drew had the relationship. Yeah.
I'm going to ask the room. Do you feel like Amanda is self-seeking? Do you feel like she's not, like you wouldn't want to be around her? Do you feel like she's not professional just because she's being direct and asking what she's looking for? Or does she seem like someone you're more likely to refer? And you're more like, wow, you got to meet Amanda. She's this dynamic go-getter. She just like makes things happen, right? She knows everybody.
That's the point.
Absolutely more likely to refer. Yes.
And remember, Drew is also a business owner, or he wouldn't be looking at this. So I told you, you get to cut through the BS with the business owners because they are on the same mission you are. That's to grow their network so that they can do more business. So you don't have to have all this I'm a DI on the charts and I lead with my D, by the way. You don't have to have all this fluff. Like, I'm not a water cooler kind of girl. I don't like to have mindless, meaningless conversations. I want them to be purposeful and intentional. And so when I tell Drew what my expectation is, and then he makes those connections, it's like off to the races for me. So now we get to the event, and Drew introduces me to a probate attorney, and he introduces me to a, what I say, financial advisor. When I meet those individuals, I make it abundantly clear what my intentions are. Listen, you know what? I just moved to the Hampton Roads area, and I'm looking literally to build my network here. It sounds like you have an amazing business. I would love to get coffee or lunch on the calendar in the next week. What does your schedule look like? So that's the first thing. I made my intentions clear, and then I'm looking to get to coffee or lunch as quickly as I possibly can. And so once we've made that connection, now for my lead generation purposes, I can count that as a contact that I made for the day. It is a quality met. And by definition, quality for me is the profession on my list that I wanted. We engaged at the event and they agreed to have lunch or coffee with me in the next week. If I can't check those 3 boxes, I don't get to count it as a met. Because a lot of us will be lying to ourselves, right? Well, oh, I talked to a lot of people, Amanda. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Respectfully, no, you didn't. So they got to check those 3 boxes if you're going to count them as a contact. Yeah, go ahead, Justin.
Awesome. So starting next, we're going to start 8:30 sharp. We are at 9:15. If someone has to go, if you had a hard out at 9:15, we want to be respectful of your time. For everybody else, if it looks like you're getting some value out of this, let's take 5 more minutes, if you can, to wrap this thing up. Answer some questions. That's unfair. So if anyone's got to go, no problem. We love you. Get the recording. And we're going to wrap this thing up, put a bow on it, and let Amanda finish this. Sound good?
Yes. So the 4 and 3, again, it's what you do when you leave that networking event. So before I'm even putting my seatbelt on and leaving the parking lot, I'm sending Drew a text. Hey, Drew, it was so nice to meet you. I can't wait to get coffee on the books next week. Then when I get back to my office, I'm sending a handwritten note that he'll receive 2 days from now in the mail. Hey, Drew, it was so great to meet you again. Can't wait for that coffee. Then I'm sending him an email. Hey, Drew, as promised, here's some dates that work for coffee next week. And the 4th thing, follow your laws, is for me, Sly Broadcast. So I leave a voicemail that skips the ring of your phone and it goes directly to leaving you a voicemail. That's doing 4 things in a matter of 3 days of meeting them. This not only solidifies me in Drew's brain, but it also shows him that I'm really good at follow-up. So that's the 4 and 3. I've given you the scripts in your folder for that. And last but not least, I want to leave you with this. A mentor of mine who earns about $1.5 million a year in profit share, so she's definitely someone who has made relationships her one thing, gave me this formula years ago. She said, Amanda, in order for you to build relationships, you need to know this. R plus V over T. That's relationships plus value gaps plus validity over time. So when I get to that coffee, I'm learning everything I can about Drew and his world. Essentially, I'm taking him through the acronym FORD: family, occupation, recreation, and dream. I want to know as much as I can. And then that is my follow-up. I don't have to think about my follow-up after that. So 2 weeks after Drew and I have coffee, I'm like, hey, Drew, you know what? You crossed my mind. I hope you're having a great week. Listen, I remember when we met for coffee, you made mention about wanting to take your family to Costa Rica. Fun fact, I've been twice and I will own real estate there one day. I have the best travel agent. Here's her contact information. Feel free to reach out to her and let me know if I can answer any questions for you about the area. And then a month from now, hey, Drew, you know what? You crossed my mind, man. I hope you're having a fantastic week. Listen, I remember when we met for coffee, you made mention that one of the things you were struggling with in your business is that you were looking to hire, but you didn't have any really good tools. I've attached a couple that I use to hire people in my business. Take a look at them and let me know if you have any questions. And then a month from now. And here's what I can tell you. I don't know if it's email 2 or phone call 5, but eventually Drew's going to look up and go, holy cow. Every time Amanda reaches out to me, she's relevant and she's got value. You know what? I do have a real estate need. I need to send her someone. And that's it. So I've given you all those scripts. I've given you the 4 and 3 and how you talk to people at a networking event. I've given you the R plus V over T so that you have that formula. And then here's how you can connect with me. So if you have any questions, any follow-up, follow me on these places and feel free to send me a DM. This is obviously something I'm passionate about. I think this is going to be the thing that gets everybody through any kind of market that we're in, and you should be focusing on this.
Thank you. Love this. Drew, what's your one big aha from today? What's your big takeaway?
Well, first off, coach is a ball of energy. This is the perfect way to start the week with this type of energy. I'm ready to go tackle football players right now. One thing I wanted to add, Coach, and you tell me if I'm wrong. When I send up that in the 4 and 3, when I send that follow-up note, I say, hey, before our meeting, think of 2 ways that I could drive business your way and let me know during our meeting is what I put in the note.
Mic drop. Love it.
You see,
Love
Just want
it.
to make sure that was cool with you.
That's coming. That slide's getting updated. I saw that. She's like, that's great.
Love
Yeah.
it.
So in the handwritten note, nowhere else, I don't want to drive it home too hard. I just say, hey, think of 2 ways before our meeting that I could drive business your way.
Now, what does that say? Number one, it says you are extremely intentional about our meeting. But number two is it says you really do want to hear from me. You're not just meeting with me for coffee to tell me about your business. And so
we're going to be partners.
if I'm getting that note from someone, you better bet I'm excited about that meeting. I love it.
Great energy, man. Wait, I'm going to start the week with a bang. Thank you so much, Coach.
I
Yes.
love it. And so we talked about, Rob mentioned before about going from level 2 to level 3, what we're talking about today, which is going from like just having level 2 is like the skills, the blocking and tackling of real estate to becoming a business owner, right? When Amanda's talking about dialing in and knowing the return you're going to get on your database, right? And this is pragmatic stuff because I've asked people and I'm auditing what they're bringing, etc. Right? But level 1 is identity. And the first level in that is do you think Amanda can make your life better? Do you think she believes she can make your life better? Right? I've got conviction that if you're in a relationship with me, I can make your life better. I love that Art is on here. Art spoke. Art, what did we talk about? Immediately I walked up and I was like, hey man, I love that you spoke. I've got access to some audiences. I'd love to see you, right? And he jumped on here, right? I'd love to see you come and be a future speaker on here because I've got conviction that if you're in my world, look at the people just in this call. I can make your life better. And now you know Amanda Dahl, you know Matt Magel, you know Drew. You don't that's all you actually need is a couple key relationships to just drive people back to. It really is that simple. Like that's what we built our entire careers of people helping each other. So let's put that slide back up. Get that information. I had someone DM me about what a 36 touch is, Dahl.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put them in touch with with Kova. Kova runs a 50 touch, but a 36 touch is just the tempo by which you stay in front of your clients. And that's going to be a mix of quarterly phone calls, emails, in-person invites to events, maybe some handwritten cards. But it is just being intentional. And the way I think about this is this. My grandfather was the patriarch of a very large family. He retired as a vice president of Johnson & Johnson. My grandma never really learned to read very well, but she ran a daycare out of their beautiful home, like militantly, and she had a recipe box. And so she would send out all of the cards every single month, right? She had a system, and I never was sad that I got my card a couple days early with my birthday money, right? But she had a system where she was sending out hundreds of birthday cards every single year, right? This is not new like stuff. This is not impersonal, like, right? I love my grandma more because she like did this for everybody. She was intentional about loving on people.
Yeah. I love it. And we can love on people differently. Our A's, like we used to take them to race Porsches around the racetrack because 25 of those people that are good for 3 to 5 deals a year, I'm going to blow some money on them. But our C's, they didn't get that, but they still got loved on at a different level. Again, leading with a business mind and understanding how you're pouring into those groups.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Anybody have an aha, a takeaway before we jump off with Dahl? I appreciate you so much for making the time for us.
Yes.
It was really
Thank
great.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys so much.
Awesome. Appreciate you. Thank you. What a way to kick this off.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
All right, all right, all right. Today is our Take Territory Tuesday. If you don't have a Take Territory Tuesday, I highly suggest you get one. So we're going to jump off. I got the team waiting in the other room, and we are going to go out and make some new friends. Every Tuesday, we are reaching out. We're inviting people to events that we're hosting. We're getting in relationship with them, and we're calling people that are multi-transactional clients. So for us, that is landlords and investors because we are an agent investor focused team. So every Tuesday we're gonna go get after that. So we're gonna take some territory. I hope you take some territory. I hope you grow your business. I hope you're intentional with profit in your business, right? Because if you want to be in deep relationship, then you have an obligation to be profitable, so that when your friends need help, you're not one of the 87% that didn't renew their license, right? You're one of the 13% that is still here, right? Still going, still able to serve. Be excellent.